What's up, guys? Russ from Boat Crafters. So if this is your first time here, my name is Russ. I own a company called Boat Crafters, and my Instagram is Boat Crafters Collected. So let's see what's on the agenda today. I have to grab those molds out of my mold storage and start to prep that to make a part. I think first thing on my list today is I'm going to get a mold prepped because I have a few orders that I need to fill, customers that are waiting for hatches. So I think today I'm going to focus on that first. All right, so I keep a lot of my molds over here in this small storage unit because in my shop it gets really dusty, and I don't want to have my molds sitting and getting dust on them because then I just have to go and clean them off all the time every time I want to make a part. So just easier to keep them separate. All right, so this customer needs a anchor hatch with hinges on the port side and with the line opening. So this mold has the anchor line opening. I have another mold that goes along with this anchor hatch that doesn't have the line opening. So the lid that doesn't have the line opening, the hinge locations need to be removed from here and then placed up here. So these are just starboard hinge blanks, so the gel coat won't stick to the starboard. So I can just take these off, clean that up, move it up to here, and then use the other mold for a different lid configuration. But this customer needs the same setup, so I'm just going to go through and get the rest of this prepped up and get this ready to make the part. These molds are pretty banged up. I mean, after you use, even the best production molds are going to get banged up over time. So that's why when you're building all these molds, you need to make sure that they're built really, really well. Because, if you have to do repairs to the molds, you can see there's a little chip right there. So just over time, they just start to get really, really banged up. So just going to take some wax to fix the radius on these starboard inserts. I just used this, it's called plastilina. Yeah, plastilina. It's a non-drying, like a petroleum-based wax material. So I just use it to press it down along this hinge blank insert. And then I use this cake decorating tool that has a round stainless steel end on it to create the radius around this hinge blank. So if you need to add hinges to a mold, you can just make one of these little pucks out of starboard or HDPE, high density polyethylene, and just stick it to your mold in the right place. So I have templates that I can put on here, and it'll show me the exact location that I need to place this, because you don't want to, I've done it in the past many, many times. If this is just shifted to the left or to the right, even just like a couple centimeters, when you pull the lid out, the two hinge pieces won't line up, and they're shifted like that. So then you have to cut the piece apart and move it and re-fiberglass it back together. It's a pain in the ass. I've done it so many times, and it only has to be off by a little bit for it to look weird. So you want to make sure that you're putting your hinge blanks in the right spot. All right, so I'm just going to take the cake decorating tool. I get these, looks like that. They're a little stainless steel ball, and they make them in different sizes. So if you need to make a different radius, you have different sizes. So I just use it to run along that. I'm just going to call it filleting wax. It's really not. It's modeling clay, but it works just the same. You can get fillet wax at some marine supply stores and craft stores, but this plastilina is like 10 bucks for this whole big chunk. It used to be about that big, so I've gone through about half of it, but I've had this chunk for well over a year now. And you can keep reusing it and reusing it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Let me get closer. But you can see how it just creates a nice little radius on that starboard puck for your glass and your gel coat to roll over. right, this mold is pretty much ready to go. So I just taped the edges. The reason I tape the edges is because you'll get resin buildup on the edge of the mold. And I typically, when I do hand lamination, I tape the center because I only shoot gel coat here on the outside. And I end my lamination right here so that I'm not putting glass all over the inside of this because that's just wasted material because this gets trimmed out anyway. So when I shoot the gel coat, I'm only going to shoot the parts that are red. So this is good. These molds are really seasoned, so they don't really need wax anymore. But usually I just go over them real quick with just a little bit more wax, and then just clean up the radius around these hinge blanks. So now I'm going to do the lid mold. Ow! All right, now I'm in the room of death. That's what I like to call it. So this is my air-conditioned laminating room. I guess it's like 12 by 8 feet. So I really can only do patches in here. I have some console molds that they just won't fit through the door to get in the resin room. And then a console in here would be too hard to laminate it just because the console molds are so heavy. It's hard to move them around, and especially in a room this small. So in South Florida in the summer, having the air conditioned room is almost necessary because it gets so hot in the shop that when I'm trying to hand laminate parts, it's so hot that the resin is kicking off so quickly. And then it also creates a problem because when I build these hatches, I build them in one shot. So I just put all the glass on and everything except the lid. The lid has a little bit of time for it to have some of the exotherm go away, just because I have to press the coring into the glass and then wait for that to kind of tack up before I can finish putting the rest of the glass in. But not having this air conditioned room, I used to do it. I used to make these parts without air conditioning, and it's a challenge because you really don't have any room for error. If you're doing something and you kind of miss and you have a little air pocket and you don't see it, and then you come around, say you're laminating over here and you got a little air pocket over here, you come back around and by the time you look and you see that you have an air pocket, it's cured and now you can't push the air pocket out. So in the summer, I'm able to get the temperature down. I don't know what the temperature is in here, but probably upper 70s. And that's enough so that I don't have to like race against the clock to get all the glass onto all the parts. The downside to having a room like this is the ventilation. When I'm using the resin gun and I'm laminating the parts, the fume concentration in this room gets just overwhelming. The only way I can do it is I have a 3M fresh air system that mounts to my back. It's battery powered, and I have a full face hood. So the filters are pumping fresh air into my mask, full suit, and everything. But even with the full mask, I have to have the vent fan pulling the fumes out as the air conditioner is trying to cool it down. So in the summer when it's really hot, the air conditioner has a tough time keeping the room cool because I'm pumping the air out. So the air conditioning is just fighting itself. I really should put in two air conditioners. And if I put insulation on this, it might help. But because I have the vent fan running, it's just pulling the cold air out. So it's a struggle. But it's it's not ideal. But having a little bit of air conditioning definitely helps. So these are good to go. I'm going to get suited up and mix up some gel coat, shoot some gel coat on these, and then let them sit for like an hour or so, and then I could come back and start doing the lamination. All right, so my day didn't exactly go as planned. I was hoping to build that anchor hatch for the customer, but I just had a bunch of emails and phone calls and customers that wanted to place orders, and I just got distracted. So I pulled them out of the resin room, but they're it actually it's cooler out today, so it took longer for the gel coat to cure. So you have to let the gel coat sit for a certain amount of time before you put the resin on it, because if not, you'll get alligation. So I'm just gonna wait till tomorrow to do these. But in the meantime, I was working on finishing the frames for these B-side molds that I did in my previous video. So if you're curious about what's going on here, go back and check out my other video. But these are the wood support frames. So once I shoot the tooling gel coat on these and then put down a couple layers of glass, then this frame will get bonded onto that glass, and then a bunch of glass will get put in here, and this will all get tabbed in. And then what I'm going to do is take 8-pound density pourable expanding foam. I'm going to fill these cavities up with that 8-pound density foam, and that's going to act as a really thick foam coring material. And then the top will get glass with a couple of pieces of 1708, and that's going to make these molds very, very strong and robust. So I'll be able to clamp them down really, really hard, um, and not have to worry about the mold flexing. Once that's done, I need to take these molds and do the same thing to them as well, build a frame and put the foam in there and make sure that the A side is as strong as the B side. So this is the lid and this is the gutter. So I don't know what happened. I think maybe the mic. So I look like a creep in this thing. So my DJI Action camera has voice commands, so I can say, I'm not going to say it because it's going to stop. But I think maybe it thought that I said to stop, and it stopped recording. See, it did it do it? No. Anyways, you didn't get to see me shooting the gel coat because the camera stopped right before I started to spray it, and because I wasn't paying attention to the camera. But anyways, I shot gel coat. I'll show you. Oh, fumes are really strong in here. All right, I just finished shooting another coat of tooling gel coat on it. I was hoping that it wasn't going to need it, but I noticed over here that I could still see the fiberglass through it. So I mixed up about another 20 ounces and put it on there. So I think that's going to be enough. And something that I started working on yesterday was this direct mold that I cut on the CNC machine. So yesterday before I left, I didn't film any of it, but I took and epoxy glued these 3 layers together. So this is a 30-pound density tooling foam. So it's a very, very, very hard density foam, and it's very close to MDF. Um, I use this because it bonds together a lot stronger than MDF does. Like I would really have a hard time pulling these apart, whereas MDF, even if it's epoxy glued together, over time the molds have a tendency to want to break themselves into pieces. So by using the tooling foam, it just makes a more robust, longer lasting direct mold. So this is a 22 by 22 gutterless hatch that customer is actually going to use this to mount it into the bow facing side of a console so that he can access the rigging inside the console. Um, so once this mold is made, now this will become one of my standard sizes. But like I said yesterday before I left, I mixed up some 1-to-1 laminating epoxy and then bonded this piece to the base and then this piece um, um, to the top piece. So I did the lid as well. So this is the mold for the lid. So what I just did was ran the router along this edge, these 2 edges, just to round it off. And what I need to do is put a radius along this corner and this corner, and then shoot it with top coat, and then it'll be ready to go. So this one I have to do as well. Run the router along this and put a small radius on this so that the glass can roll over it, and then I'm going to have to use putty on the inside corner to create a radius on that inside corner, and then this will get top coated and then it'll be ready to make a mold. So I'm transitioning away from using MDF. So this is MDF, and the reason I used it on this mold is because there's just so much of it. The tooling foam is a lot more expensive than the MDF. Like a sheet of MDF cost me about $60. A sheet of tooling foam cost me over $200. So if I'm building molds and I just want to do it once and have them last forever, it just makes sense for me to build them out of this instead of MDF, because after a while the MDF just starts to fall apart. I mean, even if you pull one mold, you risk it um, cracking and separating. So um, right now I have a 15 by 15 and 18 by 18, and this will be a 22 by 22. And then I'm going to start making some rectangular sizes like 20 by 12, 24 by 15, and some different sizes. I actually need to make some for my own personal boat. I was gonna put guttered hatches in here. So I was gonna put a 32 by 12, a 20 by 20, and a 32 by 12. But this hull isn't gonna be self-bailing, and I'm really not gonna be storing much in these compartments here that need to stay dry. So it might be just some lines and fenders and whatnot. In here is gonna be a cooler, where instead of having a cooler sliding around on the deck, I'm just gonna have drinks in here. So it doesn't really matter if water gets into that area. And then this here and this here, I need to make gutterless hatches for that as well. So this is going to be a big one. This is probably just shy of 48 by maybe like 15 or 16. And then this, I'm going to cut this a little bit bigger as well so that I have more clear access to the rigging. So I'm going to make those molds out of the same um, tooling foam, so that um, I can add them to the website and it'll be something that I can make ongoing. Here's a sheet of it actually right here. This is the 4x8 sheet. Um, all right, so I think that's going to be a wrap for today. Actually, I think I'm going to work out again and then head home. And tomorrow when I come in, first thing on the agenda is going to be making this anchor hatch. So I already cut all the glass. It's pretty much ready to go. So that's going to be first thing tomorrow.